Hey all, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the TicPods 2 Pros by Mobvoi. These are premium TWS wireless earphones that sells for around $140. So we're still talking about a price that's cheaper than, say, the AirPods, and especially the AirPods Pros. Now, Mobvoi is a company that's perhaps more well-known for making smartwatches, like the TicWatch Pro that we checked out a few months back, and they're partially funded by Google, actually started by ex-Google employees. Now, what makes the TicPod 2 Pros interesting is they have a number of features that I've never come across before on wireless earphones. One of them they're calling Tic Here is essentially always on microphones. So there's going to be 4 microphones in total. That means you can just start saying words out loud, like play music, pause music, previous song, next song, and it will do those actions accordingly on your smartphone that you're connected to. There's also a form of head tracking or motion tracking that can detect when you're actually nodding your head or shaking your head. So there's built-in accelerometers. You can use head gestures to answer a phone call by nodding your head and also shaking your head to reject a call. Aside from these interesting ways of interacting with the earbuds themselves, it still has a traditional touch-sensitive area if you want to rely on it. This time they're calling it a tickle bar, and you can actually raise the volume just by sliding your hand up and also lower the volume just by sliding things down. Now, the battery case itself is pretty compact. In fact, it's 40% smaller than their previous generation pair of TWS earbuds called the TicPods Freeze. So this is one of the smallest case designs on the market. As a size comparison, here they are next to the Apple AirPods. It's actually a little bit smaller than those, which are already very compact. Here are the Crazy Baby Air Nanos, which are also a little bit larger by contrast. Here are the Pamu Slides, which you can see are definitely thicker on the edge, even though these are already very compact. And especially again something like a translator, the WT2s, which by the way, these also have a translation feature, which I'll dive into a little deeper later on in this video, but you can see how these are significantly larger by contrast. In fact, these are so small that Mobvoi claims they can fit inside of the pocket of your jeans, which sits inside of the internal pocket. It's kind of a waist pocket in a sense because not many people actually use it, and I've always been curious what it's actually designed for, and apparently also for the TicPod 2 Pro cases, which are so small they can just snugly fit in there and still give you the primary pocket to tuck away a smartphone, for example. In terms of battery life, they will last for around 7 hours on a single charge for the earphones themselves, and then with the battery case, we're getting a combined total of around 24 hours, so very similar to the Apple AirPods, despite having a smaller case. They also have Qualcomm's aptX or aptX built on in, just like other premium wireless earbuds, so they will have pretty low latency when you are enjoying your music. Now, the design of the buds themselves, as a few of you guys may have pointed out, are kind of similar to the Apple AirPods in terms of their shape. They are half in ear, which means that there is no need to replace the tips. In fact, you don't get any spare silicone tips as a result. So these are not going to be as tight or noise isolating as a more traditional fully in-ear design, as you can see there, which has a tighter silicone seal, but as a result, they're easier to pop in and also to remove, just like the AirPods themselves. To begin with, let's talk about the audio quality. Overall, I would say it sounds quite good. They're very clean sounding, so there's no distortion or static that you can hear even when you're pausing the music and resuming it, or if you're turning the volume all the way down. Sound is relatively bright and fairly well balanced. Bass is not the heaviest that I've come across out of wireless earphones, but they are pretty similar to the AirPods I found in terms of the overall level that you're getting. Now, the companion application also gives you a few different EQ modes that you can pick from in order to amplify the bass, mids, or trebles depending on the genre of music that you're listening to, and those do make a slight difference in the overall sound. So you can fine-tune it a little bit. There's even been a firmware update that I've received in the week since I've used these that has also changed the sound signature a little bit more, pushing up the bass a bit. The mids in particular are the most prominent, so if you're listening to acoustic track, if you're listening to pop music, it does make for a very satisfying and just clean sounding experience. Nice sound overall for casual music listening. Now, when it comes to the controls, they do work exactly as advertised. When it comes to being able to activate them using the Tic Here function is surprisingly functional, and it's really convenient as well, because a lot of times maybe your hands are preoccupied. So with these you can say pause music, play music, and the song here just resumes. I can do it again, pause music, and it just pauses, so that you'll hear a noticeable beep to give you an audible confirmation, and the sound just pauses. By the way, these also have optical sensors built on in, which means that the music will also automatically pause whenever you pop them out of your ears. So this is a feature that's pretty similar to the AirPods. There's a light sensor that detects if you're wearing them or not, and that also will prevent the music from playing when you don't actually have them inserted in your ears. In my testing, about 8 or 9 times out of 10, it picked up my voice without any problems, even when I was in a slightly crowded environment. You do need to enunciate your words, though, a little bit more clearly. As long as you're using kind of a normal talking voice, it tended to actually work surprisingly well in my testing. The same thing goes with the gestures, so things like using the tickle bar here to kind of raise the volume lower or make it higher was also surprisingly sensitive and intuitive to use compared to other earphones that maybe are using a triple click or a double tap that gets easily confused. The same thing goes with the head tracking. It's surprisingly sensitive. You don't have to be kind of vigorously shaking your head. Just a very gentle nod will be picked up as answer a phone call, and a very gentle shake will actually reject a call. And again, this part actually worked better than even the tick here. For me, it was about 9 out of 10 times. It just worked flawlessly. Let's take a closer look at the companion app next. So as aforementioned, there is a companion app that Mobvoi have designed, and it's actually the same app that they use for their smartwatches. So if you are already a customer, you don't have to install a new app. It'll also tell you battery status remaining on the left and right sides, if you're connected or not, and more importantly, the translation functions. It becomes almost a rival to the aforementioned WT2 translators that we reviewed, and these on their own sell for about $200, and it has almost the exact same effect as the TicPod 2 Pros, but the TicPod 2 Pros have better audio quality, they have more features built on in, they're smaller, more compact, just kind of makes those other dedicated translators seem redundant. Anyways, we can switch between different languages. Here is the complete list that you see. So popular languages are all provided here. There are a few different modes of translations that you can pick from. The first, which is a mobile session translation mode, that is just using the app itself. So you can have the other person talk into the app by tapping on the corresponding button, and you'll see the translated result. And you can also talk into the app as well. So you're using the microphone on your phone basically to translate. So it's not that different from other apps that offer translation. But there's also a headset session mode that's a bit more interesting, which supports the TicPods, and so the other person will talk and then you can hear the translated result directly inside of your ears, but the other person still uses the phone. For example, if I tap on this, you'll see that it only has one language, which is the other person's foreign language, and then you would simply speak into the earbuds just by tapping on the side key to talk. And then there's also a third mode, which is probably my favorite, that's called the single ear session translation. So basically you would wear one earbud, whether the left or right side, and then the other earbud would be given to the second person. Both individuals would hold the headset to translate and release to stop translating, and they can have kind of a natural instant communication process. As long as the internet connection is fast, it actually is surprisingly seamless way of communicating back and forth and hearing things in almost real time. Let's do a quick demo of the headset translation mode. So I'm going to be wearing both of the earbuds. I'm going to hold to speak. Hello, this is a quick test of the translation capabilities of the TicPod 2 Pros. How is it working? And we can see it instantly translated over, and you can also tap on the kind of speaker key. And hear the kind of the translation read out loud. So again, it's surprisingly capable. It is using just Google Translate, Baidu, other translation engines in the background to power it, which is improving day by day. And the result here is actually done pretty well. And we can try doing a reverse translation. So for instance, I can tap on the kind of reverse sign. So now I'll be talking into Chinese. I'll say something simple like, hello, 你好. And you can see it's actually been translated into how are you doing? So a pretty intelligent translation more than just hello. So it's capturing the sentiment really well. I would say accuracy is above 90% for sure, and works equally as well as the WT2s, since really the back end using the same engines from Google, from Microsoft is the same that's going on. So it actually is very functional and a nice feature, which is that translation capability. Now I can also tap on settings here to go and change some other properties, such as to turn on aptX HD audio. So by default, this is actually turned off, but you can switch it on, and this will improve not only the latency, but also the kind of resolution of the sound that it's able to pass through using Qualcomm's algorithms. So that's what makes these technically, yes, they are hi-fi certified, if going by kind of Sony certification for the bit rate, frequency range, and quality that you can play back with them. I still, again, wouldn't really say they are absolutely the best, sounding thing in the world compared to, again, something like MIFA 07s, which are exclusively designed only for music. But as far as casual earbuds are concerned, they do sound really clean and great because of having this codec and chipset built on in. You can further adjust the sound quality with the equalizer, as aforementioned, if you want more bass. There's even a mega bass mode that kind of punches it up. What double click does can also be customized, whether that's doing next, previous song, more songs. You can actually change that using the software, which is pretty cool. And you can also turn on or off that invoke headset feature, which is the trigger word of saying, "Hey Tico," to wake it up and access your assistant. So if we do a test of that, "Hey Tico," you can see it's recognized it, and now my Google Assistant has been started. So this is a process that doesn't require you to actually tap on anything on the buds themselves or tap on anything on the phone. So a lot of customization and options that certainly we don't see on many competitors, including the aforementioned AirPods, are definitely lacking those functions. Finally, it is worth mentioning that they support quick charging, so 5 minutes of charging will provide up to an hour of playback, which is great, and they are IPX7 rated as well in terms of waterproofing, so you can take them for a splash if it's raining outside, and they will definitely still survive. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Mobvoi TicPods 2 Pros. Overall, I think for the money of $140, yes, it's more expensive than some of the kind of other more generic products we've seen from companies like QCY or Soundpeats, but at the same time, we are talking about a product that has more unique and innovative features and does really well for acoustic and pop type music. It may not be absolutely the richest sound in the world, but it is a very crisp sound, and they're lightweight and comfortable. Parts of potential weakness would be the fact that the battery case, because of how small it is, doesn't have the largest capacity in the world. So this is not going to be an endurance champion that can last, again, 100 hours or something like that. But it does charge up very quickly using USB Type-C. The battery case doesn't have Qi wireless charging, which would have been nice to see, but overall a small compromise. And again, the design of the buds themselves are very lightweight. They're half in-ear like the AirPods, making them comfortable for long-term listening. And there's also the optical sensor, but they're not going to be perhaps noise canceling. So overall, I would say these are still a very solid and unique and distinctive pair of wireless earbuds from, again, a company that is partially owned by Google. If you're looking for something that is going to be a great way to interact with things without using your hands, I think that's pretty unique to the TicPods 2 Pros. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Mobvoi TicPods 2 Pros.